So Sam, I am so happy that you're here with me today. We know each other so well because I've been on your podcast twice, and I'm sure that everyone listening has heard your podcast, but in case they haven't, can you give them a quick breakdown about what One Broke Actress is about?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. It's about time we turned the tables a little. So I run One Broke Actress, which is an online website and podcast all about the sharing the truth of a working actor. And the podcast is interviews and some bonuses that are just me or me and a producer and all these things. And it's all about asking questions and getting answers to the detailed corners of actor world that it's hard to get answers to, like your first agent. Did you know them? Did you send them a letter? What was the title of the letter? Blah, blah, blah. The information it's hard to get from some people. So that's kind of the world I come from, is the One Broke Actress world.
Well, I am so grateful that you're coming here. And what I love about your podcast, if I could just briefly say, is it's exactly what you said, is that it is asking questions, so that it isn't like you're not pretending to be like, I have all the answers. And what I love about the honesty inside of that is that it is so easy to listen and not feel like you're being talked down to, not feel like you're trying to tell us the only way to do something, but such an open mindset around it. So it's just such a joy to listen to. So I feel really grateful to have you here today. I'll try to live up to your hosting skills if I can.
I think you'll handle it.
Okay, great. And so today we decided to take things a little bit of a different direction, which I'm really excited about. So Sam is a former client of mine at one point in our lifetimes. And so we decided we're going to have a coaching session today, which I think will be really fun for the listeners. And so Sam, this can go any direction you want. And I just want to make sure that, you know, this is completely confidential. No one's listening.
Right. Perfect.
Perfect, right? But to just kind of set you up for like a good session here together, I want to make sure that you know that we could talk about business, we could talk about your career, and you kind of gave me, there's no area that we can't talk about today. So I appreciate your willingness around this. But where can I show up to kind of serve you and help you today?
Wow. I guess we can kind of jump off from where the last time that we one-on-one coached about things, kind of what has happening in my life there, and jump to here. And I feel like it'll maybe give us something that sticks out at that point.
Sure.
I think about this often, right? Because coaching with you was the one of the best investments of my time and money that I've spent in my career. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on your podcast. Obviously, I wouldn't have like blown you up all over my shit if I didn't. Can we curse on here?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, great.
We're keeping that. Do not edit that out.
Yeah, put the E if I'm on your podcast. It was truly some of the best time and money I ever spent, because I'd never spent one-on-one attention focusing on the things that came up in not just my career, but in my life. So not just like, oh, I need to find an agent. It was like, why does that make me feel a little weird inside? What, And so I often think about how I would, work 2 jobs and then drive to meet you for a coaching session and then sit outside waiting for my turn to go in. And I would be sitting in my car also eating lunch. And I remember one of the things we worked on was that I wanted to eat in my car less.
Yes.
I think about it all the time, because when pandemic hit, I was like, oh, I don't eat in my car anymore. I guess you get what you ask for.
Right.
But we were, we talked a lot about concentrating energies in certain ways. And the pandemic that was way before COVID happened, but the pandemic was the great equalizer. Like I really had to come to terms with where my energy was going, whether it was going to One Broke Actress or to my 5 side jobs or to my acting career, and why one of those or 2 of those maybe felt safer than the other. So fast forward to now, this is March that we're recording, and it feels like things are starting to go back on. The world is slowly starting to come to a place where we are going to see some people and do some things. And I have new agents, and they're awesome. And I have the same manager, and she's awesome, that I signed with when I was working with you.
Yes.
And so I feel like I have a lot of puzzle pieces I didn't have before. But as we go back into real world, I am really afraid of getting sucked back into working 5 jobs and spreading my energy out all over around the world, and absorbing this hustle mentality. And, so that's something that's been on my mind a lot lately.
Yeah. I love the way you're asking this question. I love the way you're asking this question, because I think, pandemic for everyone has been like some kind of slowdown. And so let's for 1 second allow ourselves to consider what has pandemic taught you. I know that pandemic is, not great. I don't want to label that at all, but I'm saying if there's one lesson you can take away, what has it taught you about yourself?
That I have a lot of value, even if it's not achieving things for other people.
Keep talking, keep going. Tell me
I
some.
think the ability to put time and effort into One Broke Actress, like I monetized a little bit. I did some like business. I took business classes. I did actor talkbacks and things like that. I've done so many podcasts. And we just hit 100,000 downloads of the podcast. I get compliments all day long about helping actors.
Yeah.
And I think I didn't realize my inherent value because I was spending not nearly as much time before the pandemic started on One Broke Actress. And I also didn't stop to consider that I could be a resource, even though I wasn't booking jobs left, right, and center.
Got it. Yeah. So what I'm hearing you say, if I can really, is I had reduced myself to, if I wasn't working as an actor, I was not valuable.
Yeah. I think if I wasn't working as an actor or if I wasn't making money.
Got it. Yeah. These two. Yeah, sure. Those two things. Yeah. Right. Which also can cross paths where like, well, if the acting job doesn't pay a lot of money, then it doesn't really matter, when in fact it was the greatest acting job of my life. Or yeah, sure. Great. Okay. So the pandemic, what I'm hearing you say, really got you to a place where, oh, I am so much more than just when I'm doing that. So much more than when I'm just making money. So much more when I'm just acting. And it was like a forced lesson. In some ways. Right. Yeah.
Totally.
So if you were able to take a piece of this into, let's pretend we're talking about 4th of July as when things are going to be normal-ish.
That's great. My birthday is July 8th, so I'm very much looking forward to it.
Right. So your rebirth, your renaissance, 4th of July, July 8th. What one piece would you like to take with you?
I feel like I get focused work done. And I would like to continue to do focused work, even if it means I accomplish less.
Talk to me about focused work, because so many of us have a hard time with focus. Welcome to having a phone in your hand and 1-minute TikTok videos. And the shorter something is, the better it is. Like, so talk to me about focus.
I mean, I think the feature to open more than one tab at a time should be removed from my computer. It's incredibly it's not valuable whatsoever.
Right, it's my number one thing of like I was saying, like, that you have more than one tab open on your computer. That's how you're multitasking, which means you're kind of getting nothing done. Like,
yes,
right?
Yes, I'm achieving like tiny little bits and pieces, but then I have to sit down and I'm like, stop. You're not doing anything else for the next 2 minutes until this file uploads. And you're going to sit there. If you can sit in front of the microwave for 2 minutes and watch popcorn pop, you can watch a file upload and not have to answer back Instagrams.
Yes.
So yeah, I think that is a big learning lesson that I'm still working on, is that I can get a few things done well, or I can get a bunch of things done mediocrely.
Right.
And I think that that's something that kept me from doing more with One Broke Actress, is because I was trying to balance a bunch of different plates and I was trying to work all my side jobs. And I was like, well, I'll just edit that post while the kids are at soccer practice that I nanny for. But I didn't really.
Yeah. Well, I think so what you're also speaking to, I think, is there's a fatigue that comes from multitasking.
It's exhausting.
Yeah. Like the end of your day, or you're like, okay, and now I'm done, because my brain has been going crazy. And sometimes I think your brain is more tired than your body by the end of the day, that the way you just described it. Like, I need to turn on the TV because I can't think about my life anymore. I need to tune out. So what you're saying is, I want to bring into post-pandemic times, I want to bring into July 8th world some degree of focus. And for you, focus looks like doing one thing at a time. What are some of the big hopes you have for 2021? For you, be real selfish here.
I'm going to be real selfish.
Okay.
I would like to not go back to more than 2 of my jobs.
Right. What a clear and definitive job. Like 2 less than, or like to be no more than 2. Okay. Got it.
Yes.
Okay.
I am very excited to book something for my new theatrical agent. I'm super excited about that.
Can I talk about that language you use for my new theatrical agent? Is there anything in that? Or okay.
I don't know. Interesting. Probably.
Just checking. Let's just have a little sidebar moment for that. So new agent.
Yeah.
You like, it sounds like you're into them. You're impressed by them.
Yeah, she's great.
Great. Okay. So, and is there something around wanting to, like, I really want to book to like seal the deal, or I really want to book, like just checking into what your feelings might be?
Yeah. She sent me out for some very big projects, and it's continuously been series regular type stuff, which is
I mean,
incredible.
hello, how exciting is that? Can we just throw a party? That's not where we were when we were talking, like whenever we were talking about it. Like, this is so awesome, Sam.
No, when we were like picking types and you were like, you're like a leading lady, right? And I was like, I don't know what my body is doing right now. Yeah, no, it's amazing. And it's so fun to take up that space. And I feel I'm sending in tapes and she's like, yes, this, I can't wait to send them this. Like, she is excited for me. And I think there's like a Hollywood value system where I feel like I need to reward the fact that she's a good agent, like, because I've had so many shitty I'm like, yes, I want you to understand that, like, not only is your opinion of my self tapes really awesome to me, it's important, and you're right.
Yes, and I know when I book a job to let you know how awesome I think it is. Right.
And together we are correct that I can book this job.
Right.
So yeah, I think it's, I've had to do a lot of work on myself to not identify a booking as a validation to my career. And I feel fine with that today.
Yes. I love that today.
It's a daily fight.
One day at a time.
It's one day at a time. But that being said, with these bigger roles, it feels like it's going to take a group effort to get the next one.
Got it.
And so I do feel like it's a big piece of us.
Yeah. And so what I'm hearing you kind of say, which is really beautiful, actually, and I want to get down to the heart of it, is I want to reward her and let her know how much it means to me that this is where we're at. And she has helped me to make possible. Yeah. Have you ever spoken this to her out loud?
Well, we've only been working together 2 months, and that feels like a little like stage 5 clinger. So.
Totally. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm a life coach. There's crystals on my desk. Yes. Yes. 100%. Great. So what I would just offer to you is there's a day when you're going to be able to say some version of that. Mm-hmm. And part of why I'm bringing that to you is this doesn't feel like it's getting in the way right now, but it could become something where there's a dread around, like, I have to book everything, or she's not going to continue to think I'm awesome, or I have to get called back of it, right? So just kind of like being mindful of your own energy around that, I think, is really mine. So I want to go back to your 2 goals for the year, right? Which is I only go back to 2 of my job.
Yes.
And I book one of these great things. Yes. So I want to pull back just a little bit around goal setting. So I think that goal setting has to live in the land, and everyone talks about goal setting. I'm telling you, by the way, we're going to talk about it for this conversation, is the things that you do have control over are the ones that I want to name, right? So we can't control the booking, but something around the booking we can actually control. Mm-hmm. And then in terms of the job, I'm wondering if, like you said, I want to only go back to 2 of my jobs. Is there a dollar amount you want to make that about? Or is it about like you kind of like having to? I just want to check in with you.
I like having varied sources of income. Okay. Right now I'm at 2 jobs. I babysit, but not very often.
Great.
Once or twice a week.
Great.
Hard boundary.
Yeah.
And I podcast produce, which is really enjoyable to me on a lot of levels. So that is great. And One Broke Actress is a stream of income now.
Right. Yes. Thank goodness.
So that is, I mean, I don't count that as like my jobs.
Right.
But it will be eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, there's probably a dollar amount that I could say like would be substantial and would be plenty for me to subsist on.
Right. So if we're going to consider One Broke Actress as like bonus money for a second, because that's the way you're relating to it. Like, this is this is not consistent. Does the babysitting count as bonus money, or does it feel real?
That feels real. That's like pay the car insurance.
Great. Okay, great. That's a good one. Yeah. Okay. So do you want to run with a dollar amount? What's going to help you the most?
Yeah, I think $1, because I'm tired of counting hours.
Yeah.
That took a lot of my energy away. It used to take a lot of energy away.
So what dollar amount would feel great monthly? Why make a monthly one for now? And I said feel great. I didn't say feel okay.
Feel great.
Feel great. And I'm not saying I'm also not saying like, I would love to say $10 million a month. Great, let's make it happen. But I'm also saying like right now, under the realities kind of around, what would feel great?
$4,000 a month.
Great. That's so possible for Sam Valentine. I could say that without even knowing what's going on in her life. It's so possible for you. So, and how close are you now, do you think, with these 2 jobs? Is it happening? Is it hitting pretty regularly?
Not particularly. Okay. But it's been substantiated by little pockets of blips, like selling things on One Broke Actress and things like that. And podcast sponsors and stuff like that has made it roughly.
Yeah. And we want those to feel like bonus though, is what I'm hearing you say, right?
Yeah. Or that they become consistent.
Yeah. I was going to
also open to that.
Yeah. Talk to me a little bit more about, so I want to be mindful here. We're coaching in a kind of two different ways. I just want to kind of sports commentate what's going on for our listeners, which is I'm doing two things with Sam. I'm both coming up with like ideas for how to, and seeing what the feelings are coming up. So it's kind of like making up, it's like, how much salt and pepper do you want to add to this? It's to your own taste, right? So I'm trying to help Sam get to a place where she can have clarity around this, which may or may not look like, here is her game plan today. So I want to make sure that you hear, Sam, that, you know, this may or may not come up with a game plan. This may be more about how do I want to feel about this?
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Okay.
Totally.
Right. So I got a really strong hit when you were talking that for you to align behind your podcast, making the impact that you want it to have. In your mind, what is the impact you want your podcast to have? How many actors does it touch this year?
A little.
Did you number it in downloads? Like, what's the way to talk about it?
Yeah, it's hard. I'd say we have about 1,100 subscribers.
Okay.
So that many plus X amount of people who share like Instagrams and things like that. So
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. What would you say? Yeah. How many people do you want to listen to your podcast before the end of the year?
I would like it to double. I would like my downloads to be 200.
Great. The sound go funny for 1 second there, I think.
Yep.
You're back. Great. Good. Okay. So 200,000 downloads. To have the impact that you want to have 200,000 actors be impacted by your work, it sounds like your podcast should become one of the places where you have a consistent monetized part of your life.
Yes. Probably.
Harnessing the power that you talked about earlier in a way that is not, instead of making it like a flaw that like you could value yourself for money that you were making, like what if we harness some of that as a strength of like, I know that I am valued, and one of the money's an exchange of energy. We think of it that way, right? I put energy out, so energy should be coming back. So if we're going to really line ourselves behind your podcast can make an impact, what would that mean as you think about post July 8th? What would need to be in place?
Well, so I have a bit of a business plan. It's like a gentle business plan that I worked with my friend Ashley Pollard to make in her business classes. And there is a couple things that I want to sell, and it's not just podcast sponsorships. It's there's some like a merch item or two, which is kind of fun.
This is like a movement. This isn't just a podcast. Let's get real.
Yeah. It's like the whole thing. There's a class I'm going to start teaching at colleges that I think I'm going to sell online as well. And like one or two other potential idea things that are like downloads. So the thing I struggle with, and this is not new at all, is putting in energy value or money value, as we will call it, on myself for other people who are typically low income earners. So actors who are working up and coming and asking money from people for services, for things I've created is hard because I do try and give so much away. Because I know how much money we make.
So it's Sam, what I want to just compliment you on is your integrity around this in the honoring of your audience. So you really know your audience. Hello, what's the name of your podcast? It's One Broke Actress, right? Yeah. And so you're really trying to honor the position that they are in and be able to give them resources at the same time. Mm-hmm. That being said, don't hold them to victimhood.
Oh, that's a good line. I'm going to re-listen to this.
So the reason why I say that, and this is not to say, I put out free content too. You put out a free podcast. This is right. We put free content out to the world because we believe that actors can make an impact in the world, and the world can be the world that we want it to be, right? Or we wouldn't do that.
Yeah.
We wouldn't be spending our time worrying over how to print this and where to do this thing on our website if we didn't care about the free stuff going out there, right? And then you said something. I'm going to bring you back to the beginning of this call where you said, when I invested in coaching with you and how it was the best money I ever spent, and then maybe think about things in a different way. Now, I just want to take you back. I'm not making this about me. I want to go back to, how did you show up to those coachings? Because of the investment. I want to check in.
Yeah, I mean, I took it exceptionally seriously because it was costing money. It was, it was an investment, truly, like in all parts, not just monetarily, of time, of energy, and so if you would have just been a guy on the internet who was like, come to my house for like coaching, well, one, I wouldn't have gone. But two, I would not have taken it as seriously, and I would have doubted your legitimacy. And as I say it a little out loud, it feels different in my body.
Tell me what's going on in your body.
It feels I mean, I'm just saying exactly what I think is accurate, right? Like, it's kind of like when we first started talking before you started recording, I was talking about spending money on my wedding. And I'm like, a photographer is how much? And then Caleb was like, well, we could get one of our friends to take pictures. And I was like, but how do we know they're going to be good? And he was like, yeah, so we invest in the promise that it's going to be good.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, so that kind of feels full circle.
Yeah. Good. Well, also, and what you just said is the part that I really want to zero in on for yourself, right? So there is a difference between like, your diction, what is it called? Your dictionary? I'm not going to
The dictionary. The dictionary.
Yeah, the actor dictionary, which is awesome. Such a good resource, right? You. And it's at a great price point. Can you tell me what the price point is right now?
Yeah, it's $25.
Right, $25. Super affordable, right? Mm-hmm. And when I relate to the dictionary, this is not bad, but I relate to it like it's a $25 product, right?
Totally.
Because it's a download and that's what it is. That's the way you think about a book or whatever, right? If I was going to sit down with Sam Valentine or take a class with Sam Valentine, like if it was a $25 class, I'd be like, okay, maybe I'm going to show up or maybe I'm not. Mm-hmm. Do you feel that difference?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm not saying this means everyone's prices need to be high. And here's the truth. And my coach taught me this, which is the great Dallas Travers taught me this, which is you can never charge your worth because you're worth $1 million. You're worth $1 billion, right? You can. So this idea of like, you need to charge your worth. I always feel like it sounds like a weird self-righteous thing to say, but doesn't actually empower you. It leaves you a little short. It's like Diet Coke. It's not quite what you need, right? Or like fast food. Maybe fast food is a better way to say it. It's like
a little disappointing.
Yeah. Right. Like it's like fast food. It doesn't quite solve the issue, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were to describe the person that you would love to help more than any other, what can you describe them to me?
Yeah, I always go back to like myself at 22. Like just come to LA, was so confused about where to start, where it was going, how to do everything at once. Wanted to be the best student in the world of acting possible. That's who I always go back to.
Yeah. And that version of you, can we give her a name so we don't confuse her with you?
Yeah, we can call her Christine.
Great. So Christine.
That's my middle name.
Okay, great. So Christine. And Christine was probably challenged financially at the time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right? She was working her financial stuff out, right?
Yeah. And
if she was asked, there is this incredible coach, I know that there's something there for me, how different she shows up then when she knows she's invested in it. Now, where she's going to get that money, there's a little bit of like Sam Valentine doing a little too much work of having her hands in all of her clients' wallets.
You mean because I'm so worried about them working 5 jobs like me so they can buy things?
No, because I think that worry is a beautiful concern for your audience.
Okay.
That's beautiful. So that's where you serve. You serve at a level where I know that your life probably looks like this. And so I'm going to serve you from a position where the money is probably like this. So what Sam does is she meets you there and she holds that for you. And she says, I know what this transformation can be for you. Like, let's say in the class that you're going to offer, let's just use that as an example, right? So in this class, like, what is the value of that transformation? That's the energy we're talking about. So letting go of the dollar sign, we don't have to decide the dollar amount right now, but what is that transformation worth to that person? Does that make any more sense to you?
Yeah.
Because I don't think, like, are you going to show up for a $25 transformation?
I mean, probably not.
If it was to my nails, like, what is it? Like, fix my nail, like, do my hair for 25. Like, I don't know. Like, do you see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tell me where your resistance is going to come up to this idea.
My first resistance that comes up to in general pricing myself as like some sort of business in any way, shape, or form comes up in a problem of consistency. So I'm worried about creating money consistently and not in short bursts. Which is a consistent issue that I have with anything that goes right or wrong. I'm always trying to make it like if something goes wrong, like in the mornings, if I like have a day where I miss an alarm or something, which is and I can't because I have an epileptic dog, but she needs to have that pill. So like, if something goes wrong, like whatever, I'm like, okay, well, how can we prevent this in the future consistently? Or like, once I find a schedule that kind of works for me, I'm like, okay, how do we make this a Monday through Friday thing? Like my brain's always jumping like seven, miles ahead to make sure that I'm consistent. And so
Yeah.
my first thing with money is like, side jobs are easy because usually the money's pretty consistent because you work
Mm-hmm.
during the week, you work your
Yeah.
days, you work your
Yeah.
weekends, whatever. But making money on your own, it feels like it comes in waves.
Yeah.
So it feels like I have to accept that it's going to be completely inconsistent, which is ironic because I picked an acting career.
Right. So what I was saying, so wait, I was actually going to say, you've grown a really important muscle that I think a lot of actors need to grow, which is the like, money's going to come in waves because that's how acting works. And so then we're starting to relate to the rest of the world. Well, all other money must be the same way, actually. And that's not the truth. You deserve, and you, what does money represent to you, would you say, Sam?
What is money? There's an independence to it. There's a free functioning in life, without, not necessarily like, not the word concern, not concerned comes to mind, but like it's like an abundant freedom.
Yeah. I think you're moving your arms around. I get this idea of freedom is really a great way to think. Yeah, I love that. Freedom is a great way to imagine this. Okay. So money gives you freedom. Beautiful. Mm-hmm. So I want you to think about, when you were bringing this up earlier, this idea of consistency. And I want to make sure I'm still holding on to a little bit of that, the value of what you offer in a class. We haven't quite put a cap on that yet, so we're going to come back to that. But so now you get the opportunity to make your business in a way that's going to provide for you consistently. So I want to just sports and commentate this for our listeners for a second. So I think it is very hard to have a creative career, especially an acting career, that is already a hustle, and then have your job outside of that also be a hustle.
Yeah.
Because then none of them gets to give you the consistency you want. So like what you're saying is like having these side jobs, actually there's a consistent amount of money so I can rely on. That's why waiting tables and bartending can sometimes be great, because at least you know that dollar amount is there, right? So for you and your business, there might be a point when you say, great, so the way that I choose to work with people is they commit to being with me for 3 months if it's coaching, or if I'm going to book a class, I'm going to do 6 classes over the next 6 weeks, so that I know the next 6 weeks, I'm going to book them all back to back over this period of time, because then I know that I will have a consistent. So even the way that you're going to design your business can say, I want it to be consistent. Does that make any sense to you?
So it's like a planning of when it's more of a planning of when the bursts will come.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Because, okay, so ready. We're going to have money coming in from monetizing your podcast, which it sounds like it's like here and there, but that can be a little bit consistent, right? When it comes to like advertisers and things like that. Is that how that works kind of?
Yeah. It's a little.
I'm the podcast novice over here. So here's me asking the question. Right? All right. And then you're going to have the dictionary and other similar awesome downloads. It sounds like we've got some more coming, which is exciting, right? Yep. And those are going to bring you those are going to come sporadically whenever you're either launching them or sharing them, and that's going to come in, right? And then what we want to find is, how does Sam have her back to school season, where it's like in the fall every year, I must teach 6 classes in the fall in order to reach the dollar amount that I want to reach, so that I can have this kind of life for the rest of the season.
Okay.
So really getting down to the numbers. And as actors, we pull back from numbers so hard. Does that relate to that?
Yeah. And I also like highly underestimate how much they can be. Like when I dropped my dictionary, I was like, well, I hope I sell 10. I messaged my business coach with how many I sold in the first week, and she was like, are you fucking serious?
Awesome, Sam. That's so good. How did that feel?
Really good.
Yeah. Take me back to that moment. What was it like to see that? What did that give you?
Well, it gave me a ton of gratitude, because I feel like I've spent so much time building a community, which a part of me is like, did I build it, or did like people just show up? But it's like, no, that's not true.
That's not how it works. Yes.
Building a place where people can come and like get information, and if they want more, like they can do this. And it felt like people trusted me to give me money of something Sam, that I made. Like,
Sam, people trust you. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
You give in a beautiful way. And it is very easy to trust you, because like you said, you bring that reality to it. And so by being able to give in that way, it builds trust. And that's why people bought. They bought because they trusted you, and they trusted that what you were offering was going to be great, which is awesome. And part of what I'm just wanting you to check in with, when you had this feeling of gratitude, like, oh, I can really show up, and that I can monetize, for lack of a better word right now, what I offer.
Mhm.
What awareness did you said you were full of gratitude, but what awareness did you have about your own knowledge in that moment?
It is so much more vast than I give it credit for, which has been something I've been trying to share with a lot of actors is that we tend to only give ourselves credit for the things we know when it amounts to IMDb credits and bookings. And I've been in this business for 10 years and I know a shit ton. I
Yes.
know so much. And just because I don't have all of the biggest, names on my resume doesn't mean that my knowledge is invalid nor is it wrong. And in fact, I actually think I might know more than an actor who books all of the time because I have to finagle and finesse and figure out every corner of every piece of this business because I didn't get jobs right away.
Yeah. Yeah. I love what you just said here, because I think that so often an actor is like, if I book the job, then I can talk about it like I'm an expert. But if I ever auditioned, got a callback, got 10 callbacks, it doesn't matter. I had 10 callbacks. I can't even say that I knew the people in the room at my callback, even though I saw them 10 times. And so there's so much you just, I think, unpacked for us even to be aware of ourselves, of how much we know. And then the other thing I want you to hear right now is, when we have a sense that this kind of came easy to me, and I don't know that that's what you were saying, but it felt like it was, they were like, how can this really be how this happened, right? Is when you're in your zone of genius, that's a place we're most likely to write ourselves off. Because we're like, oh, I know how to do, what do you mean? I just did a podcast. It was fun and I liked it and I was having fun doing it. And then I'm like, and oh, you mean people care about it? Like, yeah, but this is just something I do. Does that relate to does that resonate at all?
Yeah, in every way, shape, or form. Every time I post something on Instagram and I'm like, oh, that's so fun. And then it gets shared 1,000 times. I'm like, oh, well, that was just like a really good design in Canva.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with me. Has nothing to do with me or that this is right. So be mindful, because it comes easy to you, it is the place where you want to go more, not less.
Mm-hmm.
We tend to see the places where, as someone like you just described, who creates a standard operating procedure when she doesn't wake up on time with her alarm clock, right? You're 7 steps ahead of yourself, finding the way to fix it. Notice the places where things come easy to you, because that's a place where we want to keep going. So bringing that back to what you could offer someone, right? What do you believe that your zone of genius makes you that much more capable to offer someone, an actor particularly?
Gosh, I don't know.
Can I give you some hints?
Yeah.
And this is actually, I think, a question that I want you to live with as opposed to answer right now, to be honest.
Okay.
It's like an inquiry. So this is your homework, right?
Okay, great.
Love to have you on again
Love the
to
homework.
talk about it. Yeah, great, right. So the inquiry is, what is the impact that I make on my listener, client, student, actor? What is the impact I always bring? To just think about that a little bit, right? Your website is so gorgeous and it's really really well written. And I was looking at it today, right? And I want you to capture for yourself beyond that, because sometimes that language can help us, but I want it to really make capture for you. What do I always bring to a person, right? And I can tell, as someone who's sat across from you quite a few times and heard you speak is about this topic, is you make me feel capable. Oh, so that's a gift that you have. That's a gift that you definitely have. So I want you to really think about that. Could be it. You can decide if that's the one you really want to run towards.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Because I hear you talking about empowerment for actors, and so that really empowering audience, right? So let's come back to money.
Okay.
And where you started, which is you want a consistency and you want to bring $4,000 a month. So
look at me just listing numbers on your podcast. Like I'm so cool and comfortable with myself.
Yes. No, I was like, is she going to say the number out loud? Was that a hard question to ask? And you just totally went there. So I really want to applaud you, because first of all, anyone listening, it's hard to talk about money out loud, or it can be hard to talk about money out loud. So I just really want to compliment you on that. Yeah.
Thanks. And that was bound to happen at some point. Okay. Come here. Trudy. Where were we?
It's okay. It's so cute.
This is my life.
Okay. So let me get back.
I'm so cool talking about money.
You're so cool talking about money. Yes. So let's talk about this idea of consistency, $4,000 a month, and bringing some in from podcasts. So you're already working with a coach. I'm not going to give you the how-to. I'm going to let you, obviously you're going to continue with that business plan, but how much is fair for you to imagine you can bring in from the podcast in a month? And maybe it's not next month, but do you think, like, if you're to predict a little bit, like at your, when you get into your good stride, what do you think
Yeah.
is fair?
I think across my platforms, right? So like a mention in a podcast
Yes.
/ like an Instagram, like that kind of is, I like to do things more cohesively. If I'm going
Yes.
to work with someone, I'm like, well, first of all, I'm like, let me take your class or headshots or whatever, and then I'll decide if I want to work with you. So, which is a huge thing for me, because I'm like, I want to trust everyone I work with, and I want to be able to recommend them wholly.
Yeah.
If we're going to do some sort of sponsorship, it's not coming from the brand of one brokerage, like it's coming from Sam Valentine. So it's really important to me that that is a big part of it. So for me to have time to like fully vet something, it takes a minute.
Yeah.
So it really depends. It really depends. The Instagram is picking up.
Yeah.
I feel like it might have a monetary value to weave in as well soon.
Great.
Maybe,
I'm going to change my question.
Yeah.
Question. So I'm getting really clear on getting numbers for you. And I think that these numbers, we won't get to the final answer of these numbers.
Yeah.
But what I'm really wanting you to, when I said something earlier, your eyes lit up when we talked about the numbers being where you lead to, like, teach this many classes because it'll pay me this much money. And that way I know that's my season of classes or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Is rather than, it takes me a while for my sponsorships, cool, but I need to get one a month, or I need to get one a quarter.
I think finding one a month is doable. Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And then for it to be worthwhile to you,
mm-hmm.
what's the dollar sign you can put on it? That's a question for you to ask, not answer right now.
Yeah.
But how you can start to say no to partners and sponsorships is the amount that they're bringing you. Mm-hmm. Does that resonate for you at all?
Yeah. I think I too need to put up boundaries about what I say yes to in terms of like payment plans, as opposed to like, like $4 for each person who visits the website or something to that point. I think I'm learning how valuable, what I put my time into is and what I create is. And because I will only do it like that, right? Because it's fully vetted and trusted and like legitimate. I do think it's worth more money than I'm giving it credit for.
100%. And also remember, you have a very devoted audience.
Totally. And it's because of what you said, right? It's because I'm talking to them because they are me, and like we are us, and the whole, back to the universe song. But like, it feels like I am feeling stronger about asking for a dollar amount that is sufficient to the time and the energy that is previously put into what I've created, and not just what they might make from it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And I'm going to even give you some more language around this, because the truth is I have a very engaged audience. If I share what you have to share, there's a very good chance that they will want to take me up on it. Therefore, we already know that there's a guarantee here. So it's important to me that I feel really confident in it. And here's what I believe I can deliver for you, which is why this number makes sense to me.
Oh yeah. You transcribe this, right?
Yeah. Right. And also, but wait, Sam, here's the other thing. So you are going to have people reach out to you who you can't partner with, but you love them. You're like, oh, I wish I could, but it's never right. So that beautiful language you had earlier, you've talked about boundaries a few times in this call, and I'm so happy you're bringing them up, is you're going to have to figure out, okay, how do I work with those people who are my junior partners? How do I find a way to help them? And because I still want to, because that's part of who you are, Sam, you're going to want to. Yeah. So is there a place where, like, I have a resource page on my website, or do I do once a month, there's a Facebook post where there's 4 things that I share, like, I need to find, so rather than having it be that I have a funnel only for my big partners, I need my funnel for the things that I love that I'm not going to get to make a big partner. So I am not torn with my decision-making every time someone shows up on my door.
Oh, that's such a great idea. I love that.
So what comes up for you as some of the boundaries, what the lines might be? Might it be the number of followers, or what they're offering, or how much it costs? Like, you can also figure this out later. I'm just throwing these out as ideas. Yeah,
totally.
Right?
It would definitely be going into like vetting what someone has to offer, and whether I think it's, important enough for like the larger sum of my audience. And if not, then there could be like so many actors have side businesses, for example, that might be kind of smaller, but like Side Business Saturday, like we could like feature some like actor side business, even if it's not in like a post, it could be in like a story. Like there's a bunch of ideas just came up for me too. Or like, in the footnote of an email or something, that because the emails are like a very powerful tool that I have to connect with people. So yeah, there's a lot of ideas that come up with that.
You could have
that
a monthly, the third Thursday of every month, I share something, and it's you like, so that's 12 a year you're already taken care of.
Yeah.
Or like whenever you send your email, you can like, great, we do one a month that's this and one a month that's this. I can put you in for April. Like you literally can just start to say, have kind of a line for I have my months charted out when I can do this.
I like this.
And then for the reason why we're doing this is, Sam, it's come time, and I want every actor listening and every creative person listening, where we protect your energy.
Yeah. Yes. This is a big part of what we were talking about off the top.
Yeah. Right? While you're trying to make decisions about your wedding.
Yeah. Oh God.
1,000 decisions every day, and decision fatigue sets in.
It does. And not beyond that, like, going back to like, where do I want to put my time and energy? And I want to prioritize One Broke Actress over, One Broke Actress and my acting career are like very, very similar on my energy scale.
Yeah.
They both get a lot of it. And when one is like when acting takes up a lot of room, One Broke Actress will even out down the bottom, and then vice versa. Right. So I want to make sure that my energy stays around those things, and doesn't get too skewed by running across town to pick up toddlers from.
Yes. Right. So let's go back because I feel like we want to land the plane around this.
Yeah.
So one of the things I think we found out is we're going to look at numbers for Sam when it comes to monetizing your podcast, or monetizing your platform. I know I keep saying podcast, but we know that One Broke Actress is way more than that.
Yeah.
Right. So I apologize for only using the word podcast.
It's okay.
But so we want to get behind clear streams of revenue is a gross word right now, but the energy coming towards you that is going to be consistent. Okay.
Yeah.
So putting energy into that is a worthwhile bucket. That's one of your buckets, right? And getting clear on the numbers. So partnerships being a number. How can I help this partner? How can I really serve this partner? And so that they can, and then how does that serve me? That's going to be really clear. And then how are there like my fast food partners, my sidebar partners, my extra partners that are more about just loving up on my audience, and that's a different category, right? And then you know what happens, Sam? This is why this is so cool. Is a year from the time you do that, the next year they'll come around and they will be a place where they can I can actually partner with you now. I have this many people on my list, or I have this many. Like you will be helping them in their hustle. I want to make sure you hear that. That's part of the gift, right? And then exactly how many dollars do I need to make for teaching my classes? To hit the goals that I want to go hit. And is it that I teach one class every quarter, and that there needs to be 16 people in the class before it's worth it for me to say yes to it? Creating those kind of boundaries is actually really important for you, I think, because otherwise so much energy will go into creating class and 3 people will be there. Which I don't think will happen.
I actually think I'm going to make it evergreen.
Great. Beautiful.
And so people can just grab it, because I don't feel like I'm drawn to coaching or teaching in any way, but I do want to share like, hey, when you move to LA, don't sign a long-term lease.
Great.
Like, like these like little snippets of like getting yourself here, getting yourself started type of things.
And Sam, it's totally your zone of genius. And I feel like anyone would be it would be a gift for anyone to take that class. And that class is worth an investment.
Okay.
When Christine arrived in LA, would that not have been helpful to her?
So
how much time would it have saved you if you were able to put time on it?
I can't. I mean, I'm just thinking of time and tears and all of the other things.
Right.
A lot.
Worth it. Right. And also when we move things into online, people can become more flippant about them in a weird way. Like, oh, I signed up for an online course. Am I going to show up for it? Am I not going to show up for it? Right. So if you're moving into that direction, even the investment of money, then make sure that people will show up for it. It's a really cool kind of thing. Okay. So that's one piece of this. And then the other is around the jobs.
Yeah.
So I'm sure lots of actors listen and feel this way about their job. What I love, Sam, that you're not saying, and I want to check, and I want the whole audience to check themselves here, is sometimes like, well, I'm working so much at work, so that means I'm not an actor. Like there's the scales that go back and forth, and you have it with One Broke Actress, but a very healthy way, it feels like. But there are these scales of like, if I'm working this much, it's my job's fault. I'm not acting. Would you feel that way ever? You ever had that?
I used to, but I've actually realized that this is the hardest part for me, is that I actually like love side jobs because it feels like a role. Like being someone's personal assistant. I'm like, oh, it's like I'm basically like Anne Hathaway in that one movie, like it's like being a role, like, or when you're a nanny in someone's house, you're like playing a member of the family.
Right.
But there's consistency and there's dollars, and it's like going to do a sitcom or something. Like you're just like part of this thing. But those roles are a lot easier for me to get than acting roles. So I've been very quick to take up side jobs
Mm-hmm.
because I like to try on a world for a while,
Yeah.
and pick up those skills or whatever and live in that place and have that consistency. But then that is to the detriment of all of the other things I do.
Yeah. Well,
So
one
I
of the things that
have to
you
say
made a
no.
change. You made a change with this since I've known you, though, because you had
Yeah.
like 5 jobs at one point. Like you're making food. I don't know if it was 5. You're like making food
Yes,
for this
it was
person, making
5.
food for that. Yeah, it was 5. Okay, yeah.
Yes.
And now you've got 2. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
Right? In terms of like energy wise, I feel more calm when I say that out loud. Right. And it also sounds like you're not in conflict over the 2 jobs.
No.
Right. So is there a number, and this doesn't have to be answered now, where you want to start to see the side job decrease and the podcast increase? Like you might say, or do you want to kind of give yourself the breadth and the breath actually to like, great, the podcast is going to increase at its own pace. And so this might be some hours that I work here so that I have ease around this. Is that kind of what we're setting you up for this year?
Yeah, I think this year maybe, I mean, I think going into 2022, I would like to not really have side gigs that aren't my business.
Great. Awesome. You know why that's awesome? Because we can make a very clear decision about how much money has to be coming into your business. So by
Yeah.
December of this year, $4,000 a month is coming in from your business.
Do you ever worry
Yeah.
as a creative person who creates things to share, right? And now I feel like you have a lot of like balls in the air as well, by the way. Do you ever worry that at some point your well will run dry on things that you have to give to people in a monetary sense?
Such a good question. I'm thinking right now.
Yeah.
Um, I find myself overwhelmed with the number of ideas that I have.
Hmm.
I find myself more often having to have people on my team say to me, Brian, absolutely not. We cannot do that until maybe you can think about that in December. Like, so I just want to say that, you're creative, you are born creative, you are so driven. And what we do is what happens is that creativity just gets more and more like an inferno, I think, when you make space for it. And so by continuing to make these structures like you talked about in your business and in your acting career, it gives that inferno. So sometimes I think a lot of times why an actor can feel really spent and like, I'm going to acting class and then I'm going to go to my bartending job and then I'm going to try to coach for that audition. And they feel like, they're kind of dragging and they have this heavier energy. It's because there's no structure in their life. And so there's nothing to lean on where they can have ideas, where they can imagine, where they can lean back into why they started pretending to play house with their friends when they were kids anyway, right? You don't have that space anymore because there's no structure to hold you up, right? And so I will say that the reason why I believe I can continue to make, dream and imagine and have ideas is because, of course, I have a team supporting my business. That's part of it, right? And also because I have someone saying, no, you have a date and this class is happening on this date. So Brian, if you decide to do this, you're going to be up to 3 a.m. Do you want to be at 3 a.m.? And then my boyfriend's like, what are you doing up all night? Right. I can't say I never have those nights. That would be a big fat lie. I have those nights. Right. And I definitely have 1,000 ideas a week. So I really want to encourage you to, don't worry.
Okay. I
You will
think
have more ideas.
But that's something I also asked my business coach. I was like, what if when we were talking about I think we were talking about social media that day. I was like, what if I run out of ideas of post? And she was like, you let me know when that happens. And it has been a long time.
Yeah.
That hasn't happened.
Well, I'm curious, Sam, I want to ask if this comes to you. I think first I want to make sure you feel good about where we kind of landed around a loose action steps for coaching. Can we make it a little more clear together real quick?
Yeah, sure.
Because I want to ask you a question about that posting thing in a second, but first I want to land the plane around your action steps. So one of your action steps, I think, is to get really into the numbers so that December can actually be what we described it as.
Okay. That would take me from having these as like, oh, wow, fun. I made money through this into being like, this is how I make my money.
Yeah. And I'm just going to offer you something that you might think about is, when your dictionary came out, it probably felt like a launch because never before had Sam offered something like this. And so it was something like this, right? Really expansive. If you think about it as like, great. And then I launch something in the fall. I don't know what it is yet. There's going to be something there that I'm going to offer to people. And then I'm going to launch something in the spring and it's going to, so just you kind of think of it quarterly.
I love a quarter.
And think about it for your audience. What do they need in the summer? What do they need in the fall? And you can think like in the summer, acting isn't happening as much, or they can feel like acting isn't happening as much. So what kind of loving up on do they need in the middle of the summer to make them feel they are an actor and they can be rooted that they're doing the right thing with their life? Okay, great. What do they need in the fall when episodic is like to just, that will be where the idea comes from, thinking about what they need, right?
Okay.
And so you kind of have, what are my quarterly big engines kind of to run? Is that
I like that?
Great.
Yeah.
And then the other one was something that we had around numbers. Is it the same thing or is it something else around numbers?
I think getting clear on making them efficient and steady-ish.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I want you to come up with the numbers, like, so working backwards, if 4,000 is much, we want to make, December's a weird month to say you're going to make your goal number in because it's Christmas and stuff. Doesn't have to mean it's impossible, but just like, that's where we want to be. I also think you want to come up with your plan for partnerships.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I will just offer to you, my entire joyful way of being in the business of serving creatives has been through partnerships. That like connecting with other people who want me to share something for them and I want to share something, and that this non-belief, like I don't believe in competition. And so that kind of gave me this great freedom to be able to share anyone's stuff, and just knowing that I'm always loving up on the audience. And like you said, like making sure that they align with what you want. So you coming up with like, here are my JV team because they're in their hustle still. And here are the like power players that I really want to make sure I leave a spot for them on my calendar to partner with them, because I know that I'm going to give them value and they're going to give me value in a certain way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally.
And then I wanted to kind of bring this full circle to where kind of things landed with when we were talking about posting and running out of ideas. Oh, I just lost it.
Dang it.
Dang it.
It's okay. You can edit this.
No, edit this part out because there was something that you said that I was like, I want to go back to this.
Asking my business coach what happens when I run out of ideas.
Right. And then I was saying something about yes. And then shit, you were saying something about you asked me a question. What was the question you asked me? Running out of ideas.
If you were ever afraid the well would run dry.
Right. Oh, okay. Got it. So kind of wanted to leave you with this question, and then I'll share my perspective a little bit, which is I find myself walking through my life thinking about my audience almost all the time. Can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that happens to me. I'm like, I have to put my phone away because I'm like, don't stop. Like, stop trying to like add value to people's day. Like, they don't need, they need to take a break. It's for you too.
Right.
Yeah, I'm always thinking about what I can do or what I can add or what I can, I mean, in our social media world, you have to just like say things like this, but I'm like, what I can post about, what I can share. I started a running document on my computer that's just like a brain dump. And it's like, I want to talk about this one day. I want to, and it's just like commentary, and I just go from it and pull, but it's just so many pages now that I don't see myself running out of ideas.
Yes, good.
And they're not all like, some of them are like 3 sentences, like that's all they need to be. But yeah, it's very easy for me. And I think about it 24/7, and things like have nothing to do with the world of acting.
Yeah.
But I'm like, people would love this acupuncture mat because it's relaxing, and we all need to be relaxed. And I can't wait to tell, like, I'm doing a post about my nighttime routine. Like, my acupuncture mat is a huge part of it. Like, this is important. So it's expanded my, my lens a little bit to include things that might not be like acting class sides, like actor keywords, into being like, well, I live the life of an actor. So all of the little things that like go into my day to day are also pieces that I can share and add value in some way to my audience.
Yeah, what I love what you're saying about this is because what I find it does for us, and I think actors can harness this power and they don't always think about this inside themselves, is when you're not thinking about yourself, but you're thinking about the impact you're having, you're so free to have all those synapses firing and connecting, right? Like I'll read the New York Times and be like, this is an article about submarines and there's a thing that applies to my acting audience, and I will talk about it in my email or whatever.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right. And like you would not make the straight line, but it somehow applied for me. Right. And so what I just want to encourage our actors, if we can kind of leave them with, because this is what I'll give you a chance to say what you want to leave them with, but I'm going to say today for listeners to leave with is, if you can wrap yourself around your purpose being the impact you want to make on this planet through your acting, that impact you're expressing at the place where you wait tables, at the place where you're slinging the beers. I mean, maybe not right now because we're in March and pandemic, or at whatever those other jobs are, and where we can kind of get ourselves behind. We are more than just the impact we make on stage or on set. It changes the way we relate to ourselves. That's the big surprise. We relate to ourselves differently when our focus is on the impact we're making on others. And I think that's the gift of kind of how you started this whole thing, Sam, which is giving back, giving back, giving back, giving back.
Yeah.
If you were going to say one thing you want to leave these actors with today, what would you want to share with them?
Wow. You know, your words really matter, I think. And as flippantly as we say things on social media or heart things or thumbs up or whatever, when someone takes the time to write to me and say, I just want to let you know you've made a big impact on me, or this guest changed my day, or this post was important to me, or things like that, that I can't, I'm like, you don't understand what this means. Like in my reply, I'm like, you don't understand how important this is to me, because, you know, you're probably the same way, right? We're so busy like thinking and creating and working and helping and all these things. We forget that one person was touched, and that's all that matters. And it's funny that like usually I used to come to you and be like, but my acting career. And now I'm like, but how can I reach more people? And it is just fueled. It's like, but my acting career feels like it's falling into place exactly where it's supposed to be, because I've spent so much time learning how to help other people. It's just made me. And then every time I score a victory with my acting career, I'm like, let me tell you guys how I did it and how you could do it. And, you know, the things I did wrong, and don't do this.
Yes.
And so it makes it so much more fun to do things. I used to think that social media audiences would make things less fun. It's so much more fun to do things and share them. And I do feel like I know myself better. Like you said, I feel like, so if you're out there and, you know, if Brian's done something or said something that made a difference to you, like if you think Brian gets thank you notes all the time, you're probably right. But he will save yours in some box for the rest of his life. You feel like a thank you note saving kind of guy. Am I right?
Yes,
I knew it. I knew it.
I'm blushing. I never blush. You know, and I'm totally blushing because I 100% have a folder where all the nice things, and you're so right. It gives us, like, to me, it just gives me reassurance. And I just want to thank everyone here for listening, because we're gushing a little bit over here. It gives it reassurance that we're doing something right. And that we keep going. It gives me the energy to keep going, right? Because it is always focused on the next idea, focus on, and it just makes you stops you in your tracks.
And even if you think the person you're saying it to will never hear it or read it, they will. Like someone will get it to them, or so. The best, I think, I can't remember, I think this was you who said this to me, was secondhand positive gossip, was like telling.
I don't think it was, but I love that phrase. No, I don't think.
Was to oh God, it's going to kill me where I heard it then, was like, I was talking with my friend and we were talking about this other actress, and she was like, did you know she booked whatever, whatever? And I was like, oh my God, that is awesome. She works so hard. I love her. I'm so excited for her. And like, I would love if she heard that I was saying that about her. Like, that is so cool. So like your words matter and they get back to people. And like, it's taking the time to say thank you is huge. And that was a huge thing that you helped teach me too, was like sending a thank you note, like
awesome
stuff, important. This was
Sam,
so fun.
This is so fun. So thank you for coming on here. Wait, and I'm just going to give a takeaway to every single person who's listening.
Yes.
There is someone who you need to thank right now, or you wouldn't have listened to this podcast, and that's where we landed. And I just want to offer that it is never too late for gratitude. If they did something for you 5 years ago and you thank them today, they are going to feel that gratitude just the same. And so I just want to honor that. If you've been inspired to thank someone, go out there and send that message, that DM, that email, that phone call, that text. That's what you're meant to receive today, maybe from this. And so I am just so grateful for you coming and having this conversation with me. And I hope I provided some new perspectives on how you're approaching things in your own business.
Totally.
And you know, I'm a longtime fan forever. And tell everybody where the best place to find you.
Absolutely. I'm at One Broke Actress on Instagram, onebrokeactress.com, the One Broke Actress podcast. I'm also at Sam Valentine, but that's just mostly pictures of my dogs if you're interested in things like that.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sam. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Brian. This was great.